Hey there, I am Pops, and let's talk about Mayor of Kingston season 2, 4 episodes in. I know, I'm playing catch up, guys. I can't believe how good the show is. If you like Tulsa King, I think Mayor of Kingstown is for you, with the caveat it is significantly more graphic in profanity and nudity and violence, and it is so good though. Very, very challenging, very, very interesting. So let's get right to it. I'm going to go rather quickly because I have a lot of ground to kind of cover. I don't want to get into super heavy spoilers, but if you don't want spoilers, you'll have to kind of come back and then let me know if you agreed with my assessment, if you agree with my recommendation, my thoughts, any of those kinds of things. I love your comments and feedback. If you're watching this, I also would encourage you, if you really do love the show, keep spreading the word because we need to make sure that we encourage folks to find good entertainment and things that are good. So these places and studios will learn this is what we want to watch. This is crap we don't want to watch. There you go. So let's start off with Mike and Iris. Okay, it starts off pretty quickly with him blindfolding her and taking her out on this boat, which he's explaining had been seized in like a drug seizure. It's a yacht. It's going to go up for auction. And she basically kind of wants to stay there. And then the transition of her story arc is that he's tried to work it out with the feds for her to go back into witness protection because of Milo. Now, we, the audience, knows at the end of season 1, massive prison riot, right? Chaos breaks out. They basically burn this place. It's completely unusable. And the prison has been reduced to like a tent city, right? It's complete and utter madness in this place, right? Just total chaos with murders, guards looking the other way, basically like let them kill each other. Okay. Now, where does that leave things for Milo? Well, Milo had not got himself caught up in the violence, instead broke into where the guards' uniforms were kept, got a uniform, waited till the right time, and basically just snuck on out, which means Milo is there. Now, everyone presumed Milo was dead. So you kind of move through these 4 episodes trying to figure out, like, when will each character know or pay attention that Milo is still out there? And when it finally breaks that, oh crap, Milo is still out there. Mike does not want to tell Iris. He doesn't want to send her into a tizzy. But what is tragic is her decision when she feels hopeless. Like, going to witness protection is not a good thing because she knows that he can still get to her, right? He may not know where she is right away, but he'll eventually figure it out. And then how it turns in her decision to essentially immerse herself back into the worst possible decision that she can make is really pretty heart-wrenching. It's really, really tough. And it is, I think it is a great way to fuel the evil nature of certain players in the show. So with that said, Kyle, okay, Mike's brother, he was caught up, beaten, nearly killed in the prison riot. We know he was on the fence because he's talking about leaving anyway, going to like, Michigan State Police or something, doing like, patrolling the waters for drug traffickers and, running the beat for, basically, what appears to be a nice upgrade, not only in salary, but less risk, right? And he finds himself in this situation. He's got a kid coming. This is kind of what he wants to do now. So you have a sequence of one event and then another event where Kyle's on patrol. He's got a complete D-bag officer with him. He's a complete jerk to him. And it sort of kind of culminates where you have all this set up and you realize that they're not going to get along. This cop is incompetent. And then things are going to turn very, very sideways. And by sideways, I mean, we, the audience, which, by the way, in some ways, in some shows, I might complain about the fact that we don't get to know exactly what happens. But here it really works. And why it works is they have a traffic stop. The jerk cop's going out just being a jerk. And it goes sideways. And again, lots of spoilers, but I'm trying not to. Anyway, if you don't want to know, give me a pause for a second. He gets shot and killed. And Kyle panics because he's on like prison PTSD, right? So he's unloading his magazine, kills a driver, kills a person, and there's a baby in the back seat. So now he's like total traumatized. He's crying. He doesn't know where he is. He's new on the job. It turns into a mess. He's going to get suspended because of the investigation with internal affairs. He basically quits and goes back to Kingstown. And he's basically begging Mike for work. So it was an interesting way to keep Kyle in the system. And the only problem I have with it is we're going to waste some screen time with like lectures from mom, lectures with the wife, these kinds of things. Like, I don't know that Kyle has a good grasp of the decisions that he's making. And that's kind of what we'll have to unpack for a little bit before we figure out what we're going to do with him. But that's what happened with his character. Now, I will say this, by the way, it wasn't until this couple episodes that I figure out that Mike's little DA friend, the friend with benefits, her name is Evelyn. Didn't know. By the way, there's a flaw in the writing that I didn't really point out last season. There are a couple characters I didn't know their names. Kareem, he's the black captain that was in the prison. Didn't know his name was Kareem. I do now. So that's kind of a flaw in your writing when you don't know nothing about the characters and know their actual names and stuff. You don't connect totally. You know who they are and you can connect to them a little bit, but the next level stuff, you start to, they have an identity. And there were a couple characters that we knew and we liked. They were developed, but we didn't really have a total personal connection, especially if you don't have subtitles on. Okay, so with Evelyn is the one that's trying to work her way through all these dead bodies, figuring out how to manage charges. Obviously, chaos is in the streets. There's a hit with they stop a car in the street, they're firing guns, and they put like a Rottweiler inside. I guess it's a Rottweiler. It's completely insane. The Rottweiler is completely mauling this person that when Ian and the police, they panic. They don't know what to do. I do love all of that. And of course, the idea of the tent prisons versus the outside and Bunny, right? Bunny is the drug dealer at the, he's basically in the lawn chair on his lawn. Everyone looks the other way because he's controlling what this group does. And you still have 4 or 5 groups, right? You have 2 groups of blacks. You have, the Crips and the Bloods. We have the white nationalist groups, the whites, and you have the Hispanics. Everything is done by race. It's very, very insensitive by today's standard. That's another reason why this show feels so real, because it feels more like what life really is and not some sanitized generic version. We're going to try to insert a bunch of nonsense like Latinx or something, right? It's not like that. And it doesn't shy away from showing everyone as being a bad guy. It's not like we have a bunch of holier than thou good people in this show that you're like, well, this is a good person. You may have innocents and you may have victims, but you don't have people who don't have some blood on their hands. Almost every character is guilty in some way, shape, or form, even if it is just corruption or looking the other way. Okay. So the chaos is in the prison. The chaos is outside the prison. Evelyn's caught herself in the middle of a mess because she's not in total control of what's happening. Bunny doesn't know what to do. Mike's going to Bunny like, listen, I trust you. We need to figure something out. And go pick leaders, go figure something out. He's like, there are no leaders. There's no one to put in charge of anything, Mike. There's no one to get their handle on anything. And basically, the moment you have someone that's rising up, they're getting assassinated so someone can take their place. Like, no, there's no stability, whatever, right? Now, the big twist of the first 4 episodes, which goes completely sideways on Mike, he contrives this plan to create the order and the chaos. And he starts with Bunny because he gets Bunny to agree to this, right? And again, if you don't want spoilers now's a good time to pause and step out, because I have to kind of address this to give a fair analysis of the show. But this is the big spoiler of the first 4 episodes. Mike gets the kings, that's what I call the 4 leaders of the 4 factions, to agree to get arrested on minor charges, a minor possession charge, firearm possession. They will go into the tents. They will organize the situation, get their leaders, get everything sorted out, and the DA will then drop the charges. They will come out. So now you'll have leadership in, leadership out. Everything is all working, and the violence won't continue to go in the streets. It won't go to the churches, and won't go to the schoolyards, and won't get into the chaos. Of course, the actual DA, not Evelyn. Evelyn has a boss. They want to make a name for themselves. They're working with private prisons. They end up moving people. They're disrupting the entire system. They're basically subverting any of the plans that Mike has as quote, the mayor, because he's a non-player and all this. He really doesn't have any authority. He's more like the agreed upon ambassador of all of this. But as far as the government goes, as far as like the system goes, they don't even care about Mike, right? So all this is happening. Bunny's betrayed. He's losing faith in Mike. They're losing faith in Mike. I think they're ready to kill Mike at this point. It's absolute chaos is breaking out. It is really, really a fantastic way to reignite the chaos that we had in season 1. It really, really is. Now, I mentioned Milo briefly. Milo in season 1, there was some quick talks. There's some loose ends we didn't get to, right? Joseph is the Russian that's on the outside. Mike and Joseph had to go at it again because of Iris. But anyway, that's not really relevant here. What is relevant is Milo had like millions of dollars in some sort of bonds buried, and Mike was asked to go out and find it. And what he found instead was a bus full of dead bodies. He didn't find the bonds, right? So in this season, and you don't quite know exactly what's happening. At first, you have a construction guy. He's out there working. He hits something. He gets out, says, no, it's no big deal. And what you end up having is you have a cut to him with his wife as they're going through these bonds because she's researching what they're actually worth. They're worth tons of money. Now, he's a complete idiot. He's a complete moron, right? Because he goes out to like a pawn shop and he tries to get like 10 grand for basically 50 grand. He's trying to get, 20%. The guy's like, I'm not helping you get out of my store. Who do I talk to? Well, he tells him to go to Joseph, who's Milo's second in command, right? So they just pick him on the street. They're just beating him to death. She goes to the cops. Mike's friend Stevie, who's the cop, calls Mike. So now you have that triangle that's playing out well with the Milo and the Russians. The cops has the money. And this dude's found dead in the bottom of the pool. That's how the episode 4 ends. But it sets up so much more intrigue and things that we need to continue to flush out over here. So what started as maybe a loose end, right? And this is, again, great writing, right? If you're starting season 2, maybe you only had a skeleton of story. You didn't quite know if you were going to get a season 2, but you're putting together pieces as season 1 is unpacking. And you have a whiteboard and you start listing off some of these loose ends. Like, let's rewatch this show. That's a loose end. This is a loose end. This is a loose end. That was a loose end. They're moving it forward. They're world building because now we've had, even though this character's gone, we now have this world of how the pawn shop stuff works. He's connected to the Russian, at least by name. And we have this woman. Is she going to live? I doubt it. She can't live. So there's all sorts of chaos that keeps moving forward through the show. Let's see. I don't know that I missed anything. There's some great lines, by the way. The war inside means war outside, as far as the prison system goes. Great line. Let's see. Oh, okay. Bunny has the funniest scene. This was, oh my gosh, laugh out loud. Watched it again. Mike and Bunny are trying to hash this out. And Bunny says to Mike that I need you to mitigate. I need you to do all this, right? Help us come peace. Mike's like, I don't want any part of all this. He's like, no, you need to sit down so we're not killing one another without Sweden. So the joke was that Mike would represent Sweden in the sit down in peace. And Mike's like, Switzerland, and Bunny's going on this rant about Sweden and Switzerland and I don't effing care and blah, 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 blah. It is so freaking great. That scene is gold. Oh, I love that writing. I thought this was great. Just absolutely great, by the way. I really did like the fact that we don't spin our wheels there and talk about the violence that happened to the guards that were captured during the riot. But Kareem is dealing with that tragedy, right? He was definitely physically violated. He's been to therapy to try to convince him to let him go back. And all he's done is become an extreme violent monster. He's just beating people, may have killed someone, we don't even know. It's complete chaos, right? And the police are just irrational right now where, if you got them raiding people and just create more chaos. So everything about this show has just continued to accurately ramp up. While episode 1 might be a little bit slow, by the time you get to 2, it's a little bit higher. But now that you're on episode 4, man, it is full on. You can't wait for more. You can't wait for the next one to drop. And that's kind of where I'm at. I hope you're watching the show. And again, I know it's not on brand for me to say this, right? It's a lot of profanity, a lot of nudity, a lot of violence. It is Sopranos on Paramount. Don't know what I tell you. It's still a freaking great show. So anyway, that's my thoughts. I don't know where you're at on it. Tell me what you guys think. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you again. I'm Pops.